It answered, not in words, not in sound, in direction. The silver lines that had raced outward across the bowl reversed, all of them, every vein in the red stone pulling back toward the structure like a breath drawn in, and for one terrible second every line pointed the same way, inward, toward the coordinate the door was counting down to. Then they went dark. That was a response, Bello said. She was pale. Something received your signal and sent one back. A bearing. It just told us exactly where it is. No, Holt said. It told us where it was. It's moving. It's been moving since he rang the bell. Rees looked at me. I have seen that look before, on the faces of people who are deciding whether to trust a man who has just made a very large mistake. Can you undo it? I shook my head. You cannot unring a bell, you cannot unsay a word. And you cannot unfeel the thing I felt when the lines reversed, because in that 1 second of contact I had felt the shape of the waking thing's attention, and it was not rage, and it was not hunger. It was recognition. It knew the word I had spoken. It knew it the way I know it, because it had been reading the same language on the same grid for 10,000 years. And now it knew someone else could read too. We need to leave, Reyes said. Bello, can you set a return? Bello was already at the base of the structure, chalk in her hand studying the inscriptions. I can try. But the door is back at the base. I need to find a threshold point on this world, a place where the grid is thin enough to cross. If this world is a word, there should be punctuation, a gap, an edge. That was Bello, always thinking in the right direction, always one step behind the language she could count but not hear. I watched her tracing numerals on the stone, and I felt the single word sitting in my chest like a lit match, and I knew, with the certainty of a man who has spent his whole life with words, that one was not enough. There are more words in the wall, I said. The precursors put them here. If I touch it again, another will come back to me. And broadcast again, Reyes said. Yes. Holt stepped between me and the wall, not blocking, standing beside. I spent 9 years studying the door, she said. I sent 40 people through and 17 came back, and I read every transcript and every recording, and I still cannot hear what you hear. But I know this, the precursors did not scatter the language by accident. They were the most deliberate civilization that ever lived. Everything they built was a sentence. If they put words into the grid, they put them there to be read. In order, she said. In the right order. By someone who could hear the tone. I looked at the wall. I looked at the single word burning in the space where my language used to leave. Threshold. A beginning. The start of something longer. You think it's a message, I said. I think it's a sentence, Holt said. Spread across worlds. And I think the precursors left it for exactly the person standing in front of me, someone who lost the language and had to take it back one word at a time, in sequence the way it was written. I put my hand on the wall. The second word came faster than the first. It rose through the stone and settled beside the first, and I felt them click together like two bones finding a joint. And together they said something neither could say alone. Not a meaning I could translate into English, a direction. The two words together were a bearing, precise, tonal, aimed at a specific coordinate on the grid. The precursors had not just scattered words, they had scattered a path. Each word a step, each world a waypoint. Read them in order and they would lead you somewhere the precursors had gone before the waking thing drove them inward. The grid rang, louder this time. Two words carry further than one. It heard that, Bello said, unnecessarily. Then we move, Reyes said, advance the bearing. Where does it point? I closed my eyes and felt the two words sitting in me, warm, aligned, a compass needle made of language. They pointed deeper. Not toward the base, not toward our Earth, not toward safety. Inward along the grid, in the same direction the waking thing was coming from. Inward, I said. The path goes inward. The precursors didn't run from the far end of the grid. They ran toward something beyond it. The sentence doesn't end at the waking thing. It goes past it. Bello found the edge. A gap in the inscriptions at the base of the structure, a thin place where the silver lines parted like a seam. She set the return coordinate for the base, counting slowly, chalk steady. The air hummed. The crossing opened. We stepped through onto the cavern floor, the cold and the dark and the red emergency light, and the door was waiting, vast and silent and aimed. I walked to the socket. I could not read the countdown, not yet. 2 words were not enough for numbers, but Bello could. She looked at it for a long time. It jumped, she said. Not the normal rate, not the doubled rate. It jumped. A large amount, all at once, while we were on the red world. While you were reading. How far? Reyes asked. Bello's voice was very quiet. It followed the signal. It used the broadcast to cross. It's not at the far end of the grid anymore. She looked at me. It's close, advance. And it is sitting directly on the bearing your 2 words point to. Between us and wherever the precursors were leading you.